Welcome to another exciting episode of the Million Dollar Peddlers. I'm Paperboy.
And I'm Mr. Magazine.
Mr. Magazine. For years, we have mentioned, and this is a mantra that we have, that when you come down to making money in reselling, there are three aspects: space, time, and money. And you need all three. And I guess my question to you, and this is both for the newer resellers out there and for the veteran resellers out there, how has that changed? You've always needed all three, but as time has gone on, think back 20 years ago to now, has it changed as far as which was more important and which you had more of and which you had less of, and where are you at now versus where you were at 20 years ago?
So I thought you were going to ask me to rank them, which I'm ready to do that.
Well, you can rank them. Oh, you rank them today,
Yeah.
and then rank them 20 years ago.
I still think it's got to be money number one, because you can't get the product to sell without the money. So I think that's first and foremost. As far as room, you can make the room, whether you're in your house or you feel like spending money on a storage unit that's $80 a month or $100 a month, and you can make the time. So I think definitely money's number one. You can make the money, but you need the product to make the money. So you got to start out with something to get this going. You're not gonna rent a storage unit first. Right? You're gonna get the money, buy the product, list it, and you need a place to store it. So I think that's, whether I thought that or not 10 or 20 years ago, that's really how it should be all along.
See, and I disagree with you.
All right.
When I started out, say 2002, 1998, 2002, money was the scarce thing. I had a house with nothing in it, per se, other, personal items, whatever. But I had a lot of room in the house, so I didn't even think about running out of room. And I had time. I had nothing to do. And when you think about it, when you start listing on eBay, you really do have nothing but time. Because what is hopefully an hour or more a day nowadays spent on packing things, on finding and packing things that I sold on eBay, Amazon, or the other sites. Well, when you first start out, you have nothing to pack. You have nothing to worry about for that. You have time. And when you start out, you aren't aware of how the business is going to potentially grow.
You need money for supplies too, though.
You do.
You can't ship them without money for supplies.
No, that's true. But again, 20 years ago when I first started out, the money was the number one thing that was holding me back. That, and of course, knowledge, a lack of knowledge about what to buy and all that kind of thing, where to buy it at, whatever. But if I went to a auction 20 years ago, I mean, I would be buying, I had 40, 50, 60 bucks to spend, maybe $100 if I was lucky, was what I had to spend.
True, yeah.
Now, not to rub it in anybody's face, it's not what this is meant to be, but if I went to an auction, especially now they take credit cards, this, that.
Sure.
If I had to spend $10,000, I wouldn't want to do it, but I could do it. So at this point, I think money is the least of the things for me at this point, at the size I'm at, and at the size that I expect to be.
Right.
Now, obviously, if Mile High came and knocked on my door and Chuck said, "Hey, I'm looking to sell out. I'm going to give you a heck of it." And I have no idea what his inventory is worth. My inventory is worth $20 million. You give me $1 million and it's all yours. Well, that is one heck of a deal. At that point, money will be an issue.
Right.
But
and space.
You got to move it all in your house.
Unless you're moving out to
Colorado.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all going in my house, too, in my garage. Space would be a problem at that point, too, of course. But within the parameters that I've set up for my business at this point, I think money is the one that is the least important to me at this point, because I've got the day job, I've got money coming in, I've got some savings. Time, I think at this point, is the most valuable one to me. Now, maybe that's because I've got the day job and I've got this and I've got so few extra hours left. And if I've got, 4 hours a day that I can spend on the business, and things are selling, and I'm trying to do this, and I'm trying to do that, and I'm trying to make sure I list a couple of things on Etsy, and I'm trying to make sure, all of a sudden, you don't have a lot of extra time left over to list stuff.
All right.
And I do enjoy the sourcing. So then that kind of bumps up against the entire space thing, too, because I go out to the flea market and I buy 4 boxes of books or 4 boxes of stuff. Hey, this is wonderful. I got all the stuff.
Yeah. Well, and that really takes away your time too, because say you're going out to Avon, hour, you're there 2 or 3 hours, hour back, 3, 4 hours you spent, where you could have sat and listed stuff you already had,
right,
and made a lot more money than spending some more and listing some of it and so forth. So it's a juggling act.
It really, really is, and I think you're going to find out there, no matter what stage of reselling you're at, because I guess the money is a little different for you because you've got the warehouse and the employees. But if you took away the warehouse employees and in some magic way you suddenly just had your store and you were a one-man band over there,
yeah.
Well, then I think time would be very, very important to you because you'd be trying to pack everything you had there.
Yeah.
And I think time would be at that point the one you'd be bumping up against completely because you wouldn't ever even be able to list anything because you're running around trying to find and pack 200 items.
Yeah, forget about it. Well, even now, time, I don't list anything at all, but time is what I have the least amount of because I have all these employees that I have to prep orders for. So I do the best I can, but I just can't sit there all day, sort out magazines for this guy, Hot Wheels for this guy, toys for this guy, posters and so forth. You know, I do the best I can and try and give them stuff that's more automatic to list, but then the easy stuff isn't necessarily the best money maker. So if I want to get more money out of my listers, I got to go through it all and, you know, sort it all out and price it all out, which takes a lot of time out of my day. And I'm limited to a couple, 2-3 hours of that, you know.
So. Right. Yeah, so it's kind of an interesting question, and I'm kind of curious as to how you would rank them, space, time, and money, and kind of curious as to if you look back over your reselling career, if it's changed at all. I guess the final argument I would make against money, now, again, you've got the warehouse and employees, so you're in a little different situation, but do you need, other than that, do you really need money at this point in your career, or could you coast off of what you have bought already, your debt piles per se?
Certainly coast, yeah. If I just shut down my shop and, you know, all my connections didn't source for me, I'm looking at stuff, we're talking years, literally years with the employees we have to just list, and not junk really. We're getting rid of the junk, and even the good stuff is piled up. You know, we're talking about thousands of action figures, thousands of posters, tens of thousands of magazines. So yeah, we're good to go. We got a fallout shelters, a warehouse, and we're good to coast for a few years. Survival.
There you go. So hopefully that helps you a little bit. Wanted to kind of get you thinking a little bit today. If you could hit the like button, we would definitely appreciate that. And we will see you next video.
Take care. Bye-bye.